Your Honor. My client does not wish to divorce and requests the court to order counseling. She believes the marriage is strong enough to survive this misfortune with some help. This was her lawyer speaking, the lawyer of my soon-to-be ex-wife. Julie, my lawyer, stood up, Your Honor. A 12-month affair with multiple men resulting in the birth of a child can hardly be called a misfortune, especially when a DNA test proves that the said child does not belong to my client. We see no benefit in continuing this charade of a marriage. Any further counseling will not change anything. It is precisely because of the child that I am inclined to order counseling, the judge said. The child needs a stable home to grow up in. If you expect me to raise this cheating adulteress's child, I said loudly. My lawyer winced. The judge slammed the gavel forcefully. One more word, and I will hold you in contempt of court. He shouted at me. I'm ordering a month of counseling with 2 sessions per week, otherwise. He glared at me for a moment, then slammed the gavel again. That's all, Julie. My soon-to-be ex-wife looked smug when I walked into the counselor's office. I'm Dr. Sullivan, but you can call me Gerald. May I call you Brian? He smiled at me. No, you may not. You can address me as Mr. Stedman. Brian, that's not necessary. Julie began, and you cheater can refrain from addressing me at all. I snapped at her. I think we need to calm down. Please. Mr. Stedman, have a seat. He pointed to one of the chairs in front of his desk. I dragged the chair a good 6 feet away from the one Julie was sitting in and plopped down into it. Gerald sighed, all right. Then he began. I didn't hear anything else because I pulled out my earbuds, put them in, and started listening to music on my phone. Gerald just stared at me, then started talking to Julie. I couldn't hear what he was saying. I just kept fiddling with my phone, listening to music. About 15 minutes later, I saw Julie stand up. She gave me a fierce look and walked out of the office. I took out my earbuds. Well, Doctor, good session. See you on Thursday. I'm canceling our sessions and sending my report to the judge, even better. The judge was not pleased. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't hold your client in contempt of court. He growled at my lawyer. Your Honor, you ordered my client to attend the sessions he attended. The first session is ordered. It was the counselor who canceled the remaining sessions. The counselor's report clearly states that he made no attempt to participate in the session. He put on headphones and ignored everyone the entire time you ordered him to be present. My lawyer responded he was present. Given that the counselor deemed continuing the sessions pointless, I would like to request that you grant permission for the divorce as per the petition, not in this lifetime. I'm ordering 4 more weeks of counseling. Mr. Stedman will be present and he will participate. The office was arranged exactly the same as the first time. 2 chairs about a foot apart were set up in front of the table. The counselors sat at the empty table, except for a yellow notepad and a photo of an attractive woman who I guessed was around 35, and a child who looked about 6 years old. Mr. Stedman, he said, please have a seat. I started to move the chair again. Julie reached out to stop me and I stepped back. I'm informing both of you that any physical contact will be interpreted as an assault on my person and will be met with an appropriate response. I said. Julie gasped and backed away. I returned to moving the chair and then sat down in it. I took out my phone again. Mr. Stedman, the judge ordered you to participate in the session. I know I'm using my phone to record the session to prove my participation. My lawyer says it's well known that some counselors have their own agendas, since my soon-to-be ex-wife has already been seeing you for some time. I feel that you may have already developed a relationship with her that could work against me, and what if I object to recording the sessions? The counselor asked. Then I'll go back to court and request a different counselor. That's an option too. The only reason I haven't done that yet is because it would cause even more delays. Julie, how do you feel about the sessions being recorded? He asked, looking at her. It doesn't matter, she said, waving her hand. Can we just start? All right then, Gerald said what I'd like to do first, before we begin. I interrupted. May I ask a question? Of course, he said. You can ask questions at any time. I may ask you to hold off on questions during certain moments of the process, but right now go ahead. He added with an encouraging smile. Have you already slept with her? Julie gasped, but Gerald didn't seem bothered. No. Julie and I have not had and will not have any sexual contact. He said calmly. That would be inappropriate even if I weren't already happily married. Does that answer your question? I nodded, I believed him. He must be one of the few men Julie has met in the past year who hasn't slept with her. Then all right. As I was saying, what I'd like to do first is establish our expectations. Since I've already had several conversations with Julie, I'd like her to outline what she hopes to achieve in these sessions and what her desired outcome would be. I'd ask you while she's speaking to refrain from comments and questions until she's finished. Once Julie has told us what she hopes to accomplish, I'll ask you to do the same. I refrained from commenting. I didn't look at Julie when she started speaking. First of all, Brian, she began, don't talk to me. I growled, talk to me. Julie Gerald said, tell me what you'd like Mr. Stedman to hear. I want him to hear how sorry I am for the pain I've caused him. I know I did the wrong thing, but he was spending so much time away on his business trips and I was lonely. I understand how much I hurt him, and if I could go back and change the past, I would give anything to do that. I love him more than anything in the world. I know we can get through this. If he would just give me a chance, I would show him that I can be the best wife a man could ever dream of. We could raise our child together and give him a wonderful life, maybe even a brother or sister. I want us to be together. I know we can do this. I know we can make it through. Gerald smiled at Julie. All right, thank you. Julie, now, Mr. Stedman, what would you like to say? I glared at him. I would love to see a festering adulterous rest contract, a rare and incurable 3PPP, and die a slow and agonizing death. Julie burst into tears and ran out of the room. That didn't help. Gerald remarked, I'm not here to help you. That adulterer spent a whole year sleeping with half the men in town, got pregnant, and tried to pass the child off as mine. If I hadn't already suspected something and requested a DNA test, I'd still be paying child support for someone else's kid. Tell me. Doc, how exactly am I supposed to feel? Your anger is natural, but you need to look beyond the anger at what you once had. Do you even know what the hell you're talking about? I snapped. Have you ever had the love of your life? The person you trusted with your heart and soul? Someone you were literally willing to die for, and that person betrayed you so badly that you started doubting your own sanity? When I found out what was happening, I wanted to die. I seriously considered ending my life. How can someone who claims to love you cause you so much pain that you're driven to thoughts of suicide? And did you also notice that she never once apologized for what she did, for sleeping with all those men, for lying over and over, for getting pregnant and not even being able to figure out who the damn father was? The only thing that's certain is that it wasn't me, the one person who was supposed to give her a child. So since you have no idea what it's like to be in my position, don't sit there with your sanctimonious damn smile and your textbook knowledge telling me I should let go of my anger right now. My anger is all I have. Just let me get this adulteress out of my life and try to rebuild something from the shattered pieces she left me. I hope this counts as participation. I growled at him as I walked out of the office. When I got home, I decided to prepare a bit for the next session. Maybe I could prove my point. I asked Julie to allow us to have this session without her. Gerald said when I walked into his office the following week, I feel we might make more progress individually at first. As long as this still counts as court-mandated counseling, I'm more than happy not to be in the same room with that woman. I sat down, placing the AR envelope I was holding on my lap. Can we try to refrain from name-calling? Please, it's unproductive and just gets in the way. I don't want to be productive. I just want to get through these sessions and get this adulteress out of my life for good. I never wanted these sessions. She's just determined to cause me as much pain as possible. She doesn't want to divorce because the prenuptial agreement leaves her with nothing, so she's trying to force me to take her back. That's not going to happen. And what about the child? He's innocent. Surely he shouldn't be punished for. He's not my problem and not my responsibility. By your logic, I should take in every stray who couldn't keep her legs closed and got pregnant. Those children have nothing to do with me, and this child doesn't either. Why are you so certain that there's only one outcome? You obviously loved her very much. That kind of feeling doesn't just disappear overnight. Your anger is masking it right now, but once it subsides, and trust me, it will, you'll find there are still feelings you can build on, feelings you can use to rebuild your relationship, maybe even make it stronger. That smile returned again. I wanted to punch him. It was time to give him a taste of his own medicine. I pointed to the photograph on his desk. You have a nice family, been married long. We're not here to discuss my 11 years, if my sources are correct. Childhood. Sweetheart married right after college, waited to have kids, and then little Ethan came along. How old is he now? 9. This photo must have been taken a couple of years ago. How do you, he started to say. But did you know that dear Cheryl has her own secrets? Do you happen to know that when she says she's at Pilot A's class on Wednesday afternoons while you're at work, she's actually at the Motel 8 on Patterson sleeping with her personal trainer? That's absolutely ridiculous, he stammered, but I could see he wasn't sure. He had gone very pale, really. I said, pulling a few photographs out of the envelope. I placed them on his desk. One by one, they showed a pretty, slender woman entering a hotel room with a young, muscular man. He had his arm around her waist and they were looking at each other lovingly. I pulled out a DVD and placed it on his desk as well. There's also a video recording from inside the room. If you need real proof of what they're doing, it's pretty explicit. So, if I were you, I wouldn't watch it. I made that mistake when I got the private investigator's report. Those images will haunt me for the rest of my life. He looked like he was about to be sick. Oh, and one more thing, Ethan. No, he said quietly. Please God, you know. I pulled a DNA report out of the envelope. It seems the fitness instructor isn't the first. I think he's too young to be Ethan's father, but whoever the father is, it's not you. I said quietly. He stood up and ran to what I assumed was the bathroom adjoining his office. I heard him ranting loudly into the toilet. Now do you understand? I asked him when he sank back into his chair, tears streaming down his face. He looked at me with lifeless eyes. Now you see the pain she caused me and why I have to get her out of my life. He nodded weakly good. There's one more thing you need to know. He looked at me with fear. There's more, he asked, plaintive. It's all fake. None of what I just showed you is real. As far as I know, your wife is as loving and faithful as you believe her to be, and Ethan is your son, but the photograph, Photoshop. It's amazing what you can do with a few social media posts and a bit of time and effort. I replied grimly, if you had asked anyone even remotely competent to examine the photos, they would have told you they were all fake. I pulled a few more photos out of the envelope, but to prove it, here are the originals from which I made them. His face began to flush, and I wondered if he was about to attack me in the DVD. He asked. Blank disc, the DNA report. It's actually the DNA report for the child of my soon-to-be ex-wife, the cheater. I just changed the names and dates. He sat there for a few minutes, stunned, and his fresh tears ran down his face. Why would you do this? What could you possibly hope to achieve by destroying my marriage and my life? That was never my intention. That's why I told you almost immediately that it was all fake. I never wanted to cause you or your family any irreparable harm. I just wanted you to truly understand for once the pain I went through, the feelings of loss, anger, and betrayal. You only experienced it for a few minutes. I'm still living it. Your brief suffering is my life now and in the future, forcing me to sit here with that. Adulterers listening to her spew her nonsense about how she loves me and wants me back. Just means I have to keep her living the pain over and over. There are laws against cruel and unusual punishment. Why aren't they applied in this case? I just want to move on, try to pick up the little I have left and continue with my life. Why can't you and the courts let me do that? I gathered all the papers from the desk and put them back in the envelope. I'm truly sorry I had to do this, but I needed you to understand. I walked out of his office. Your Honor, I have the report from the court-ordered counseling sessions that my client was instructed to attend. My lawyer addressed the judge. Once more. I have a copy. The judge growled. It appears that the counselor feels, even after only 3 out of 8 sessions, that this marriage cannot be saved and that, for the well-being of all parties involved, including the child, the best course of action would be to grant the dissolution. Yes, Your Honor. I request that you order the dissolution of the marriage. As per the petition, the judge looked at me for a long time. I stared straight ahead, unwilling to meet his gaze. Granted, he finally said, striking his gavel. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of Cheating Secrets. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.